And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
One of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean,
over the Caribbean,
South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
That's why you called Israel. Is it real? No, it's not. How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? When somebody answer that for me. When somebody answer that for me. When somebody answer that for me. When somebody answer that for me.
They say, go see the African History Museum. Why do they start when the boats came? Why don't they start with the drums?
When we was kings.
No, they don't want it, but we are kings. Mm-hmm. But the 400 years doesn't have to deal with slavery. It has to deal with the Bible. It has to deal with us being disobedient to God. Us as 12 tribes of Judah, as a member of the Hebrew people, we are still inside of our genocide. 50% of all black deaths a year is abortion.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. If you guys can hear me clearly, if my audio sounds good, type 1. If it sounds choppy or anything like that, type 2. That way I can make some adjustments to it. So I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. I want to say Shabbat Shalom. Hope and pray that you guys are getting the proper rest that is needed. Really allow every aspect of your life to kind of take a break, have rest, and that's the good thing about the Shabbat is that not buying and selling on the Shabbat, it allows your finances to recover. And, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. Not just your body recover, but your finances recover. Because if it's left up to the retail industry, they would have shopping 24/7, 365. And that's the basis for all these holidays that they created is strategic for us to get and keep our people shopping. But nevertheless, I want to say peace and blessings to your family. And I know I didn't schedule this live. I said I would do it, but I didn't schedule it. Didn't have time to schedule it. And this is going to be a series here, The Mark of the Beast. And we're going to talk about a few things from Revelation for tonight. But then we're going to really go deeper with the Great Tribulation and really still tying and connecting with the Mark of the Beast. We're going to connect that together, and we're going to do that in episode 2. But tonight we're going to lay the foundation of the Mark of the Beast. That is our lesson for tonight, the Mark of the Beast. So before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and give some shout outs here. I want to start off by giving my Sister Carol. I want to start off by giving her a shout out. I want to say Shabbat Shalom. I want to say peace and blessings to you, love Yah. I want to say salama to you, Jason Canford, Shabbat Shalom. Who else do we have here? Devontae Israel. I want to say shalom to you, my brother. Appreciate you for tuning in tonight. Sheila, Sister Sheila, I want to say shalom to you. Amiyah, Yakiyada, excuse me if I, Yakiyada, or, excuse me if I mispronounced the last name, but want to say peace and blessings to you, Shabbat Shalom. Who else do we have here? And I want to apologize to you too if I butchered your name. As the old school would say, charge it to my head, not to my heart. Appreciate you. Chris Walker, peace and blessings. Yah's son, peace and blessings. Taisha Yisrael, want to say shalom to you as well. Appreciate you, sis. You love Yah. Again, peace and blessings to you. Chris Walker, want to say peace and blessings to you. Sister Sheila, peace and blessings to you. Joe Nuff, want to say peace and blessings to you. Joe Nuff, make me think of what's the movie? The Last Dragon, Show Nuff. But I want to say peace and blessings to you, Joe Nuff. Lemuria Johnson, peace and blessings to you. Who else do we have here? Yahweh, want to say, I see can't make out the full name, but look like it says Yahweh by Yahweh. It's the screen name, but I want to say peace and blessings, or is that Kabad? I can't tell, but forgive me if I'm butchering your name, but want to say peace and blessings to you, my brother. Thank you for tuning in. Sister Lynn, peace and blessings to you. Antoine Smith, shalom to you as well. Ernest Higgs, want to say peace and blessings, Shabbat Shalom to you, my brother. Appreciate the love and support over this extended period of time. Really appreciate you, my brother. Mari Yah, want to say peace and blessings to you. So again, I want to say peace and blessings to all you guys. Soy, S-O-Y, want to say peace and blessings to you. Want to say Shabbat Shalom to you. Larry Wells, want to say Shalom Mash Paka to you as well. It is well on this end, family. Really appreciate you. So with that being said, we got the greetings out the way. And again, I hope and pray that you guys had is having a great Shabbat. Pray that you guys get the necessary rest and stay encouraged with everything that is going on right now. Don't be distracted. Don't allow the distractions to pull you away from your purpose and the things that you should and be doing for the Most High, your works that the Most High requires of you. So let's go to get into it, family. Let's go to get into this lesson here and late night playbook that we're doing here. So let's go ahead and get it going here. mark of the beast. And the reason why I'm doing this lesson is because, or this series, is because there's a lot of misunderstanding about the mark of the beast and the way that we have been trained to interpret prophecy, right? We as a people, we have been taught to include the oppressors, those that are pushing the systems that I'm going to touch on one of them tonight, the systems of man, which is religion. We've been taught to include the oppressors on the good side, the same side as the prophecy as we, the people of Israel. So I really want to talk about that, really want to get into it. So with that being said, family, again, peace and blessings to everyone. Moderators, you guys know what to do. I know earlier when I was dealing with the Brittany Griner, I believe that they purposely, when I say they, certain trolls are out there to troll certain discussions to take away from the actual objective of that discussion. So I appreciate you, brothers and sisters, the moderators that was on the live earlier, and just really addressing and knocking down a lot of that foolishness that those trolls were trying to do. All right. But anyway, let's go on and get into it. The mark of the beast. Let's get into it. Right. What is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? Right. When you hear many people talk about the mark of the beast, quite, the norm, the default, when you ask a person, what is the mark of the beast? They're going to point to what's in this background. They're going to go into a computer chip. Right. When you ask, what is the mark of the beast? Computer chip. Now you probably hear the jabs, vaccines. But we're going to give clarity on what is the mark of the beast over the next few lessons of this series. So what is the mark of the beast? But before we get into that, I want to start with a key prophecy here. Revelation chapter 17, verse 14 through 16. I want to go here for a reason. These shall make war with the Lamb. And family, we have to not look at these prophecies from a generalized perspective, right? We've been taught to view these prophecies from a generic perspective, a universal perspective, because universal and generic and general are synonymous to each other. And universal is transliterates to Catholic. Catholic means universal. It means generic. It means general. So when we look at the scriptures from a generic perspective, that's what Catholic is, to make it so that way everyone is included in a positive light, right? So when we look at this text right here, these shall make war with the Lamb, right? We know when we start dealing with the Lamb and understanding the Lamb, we know that that is the Messiah. Make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And we know that Hebrew or that Ethiopian word negas or nagas, right? We know that nagas, nagasta or nagaste, that word or that is the Ethiopian pronunciation of Lord of Lords, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, or in ancient Hebrew, it'll be Malak, right? Malak, right? And then when we look at Lord of Lords, Adonai Yah. But from when we look at it from Ethiopian, is negas or nagas, and from an ancient Hebrew, it would be nagad or nagid. All right, so we see that this is referring to the Messiah, and we definitely know that the Messiah is the head, nagad, nagas,
Nigger.
and if we wanted to say nagid,
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
Negus. And did you say the word loudly for the judges?
Nigga.
Negus. One more time.
Nigger.
Negus.
Negus.
Nigga.
Negus.
All right. So you guys get the gist of it, right? So nevertheless, we see here, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Adonaiah, right? And King of Kings, Malak, right? And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. All right. Let's go to the next verse. Let's break this down. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, nations, tongues, right? When we start understanding this here, this is a key prophecy. The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are people. So when we look at the water, what group of people did these systems of man use us like water in terms of the whole financial infrastructure, right? They use us like flowing like water. We were the water. We were the people. We were the water that those slave ships floated on. We was the basic foundation of the whole currency at that time. I mean, they even had currency specially made for our people to buy and sell our people. When we look at the economy, everything was based off of our people. The waters are littered with our body parts of our ancestors. The blood of our ancestors all through those waters, to the point that sharks and birds and, you know, they were on the trail and they will follow the slave ships. Right. So we have to understand we're not just dealing with, from a generic perspective, how we would be taught, or all nations. No, we got to understand is we're dealing with Israel from the beginning. We're dealing with Israel. Israel, where the whore sitteth, are peoples. Let me read it again. The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, the waters are the people. The waters is our people, in which a group of people rode those waves to their riches, to building countries, to building nations, are peoples, multitudes, and nations, and tongues. So when we go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 28 and 29, notice what it says here. Yahweh shall smite thee with madness and blindness, astonishment of heart. And family, we're dealing with this right now. Thou shalt group at noonday as the blind groupeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Family, this is what we're dealing with right now. This is some of the mental issues that we're dealing with right now as a people. Cognitive dissonance, right? This is what we're dealing with as a people, right? In a nutshell, what this means is contradictory behavior. If you ever told a lie and felt uncomfortable about it, because you see yourself as scrupulously honest, then you have likely experienced cognitive dissonance. It occurs when one's ideas, beliefs, or behaviors are contradictory. When a person learns new information that challenges a deeply held belief, for example, or acts in a way that seems to undercut her self-image, the theory of cognitive dissonance helps explain the lengths to which people sometimes go to account for thoughts, words, and behaviors that seem to clash, but in fact, by bringing attention to the inconsistencies in our minds. So that's pretty much what Stockholm syndrome is. Cognitive dissonance is. It is contradictory behavior, and we are dealing with that as a people. We are filled with contradictions. Filled with contradictions. We would grab hold of doctrines and stuff that we shouldn't even be exploring and delving into. We're majoring in the minor stuff right now. We got so much bickering, self-manufactured bickering, where we got bigger fish to fry. We got bigger fish to fry, but we're bickering over minor stuff. Minor stuff. We got a lot of people that are majoring in the minors right now. We're so inconsistent right now as a people because we got bigger things that are going on, but we steady trying to come at each other. We're more important as far as in terms of coming at each other, trying to debunk each other, trying to expose each other, than dealing with the actual issues. We're self-check. That's a basketball term. Self-check, right? So what is Stockholm Syndrome? This is the other one. The psychological tendency of a hostage to bond with, identify with, or sympathize with his or her captor. And we see that happening right now. We don't want to let go of our oppressors, systems. We don't want to let go of Judaism. We don't want to let go of Christianity, because no matter how many will try to bend and twist it to say, hey, you know what? Christianity was created by our people or by black men, by this Christianity that is being practiced. Who created it? The disciples did not create Christianity, but this Christianity that is being taught right now or being practiced, the word didn't even exist prior to the 10th century. The word Christianity did not even exist prior to the 10th century. But many will fight for this system, right? Fight for this system of man. That's what when we really understand these different religions, they are systems of man. So the psychological tendency of a hostage to bond with, identify with, or sympathize with his or her captors. So do religion promote these behaviors? Does these religious systems promote these contradictory behaviors, cognitive dissonance, and Stockholm syndrome? Absolutely, family. Absolutely. Why? Because only in the church you'll see the victim be made into being the perpetrator, and the perpetrator get treated like the victim. I remember growing up in church and seeing, if a young girl, got pregnant, underage, let's just say 16 years old, got pregnant, they'll have that woman up in front of the church, that young girl up in front of the church, repenting and everything, embarrassing her. But where's the young boy? In many cases, it wasn't a young boy. It was some of those men up in the church messing with the 16-year-olds, getting young girls pregnant up in the church. But the woman, the young girl, is the one that's made to be the victim. How many times have you had pastors get busted with all kinds of perversions, and the person that got treated like the actual perpetrator was the one that blew the whistle? Come on, family. We got to keep it real. This is what religions promote. We see it all the time in Christianity. All the time in Christianity. How many pastors that have been married 4 and 5 times pastoring? Oh, that's just pastor being pastor. How many pastors done had babies outside of their marriage? That's just pastor being pastor. How many times have you seen pastors getting caught up with side boyfriends and girlfriends? Oh, that's just pastor being pastor. But then try to hate on the person that's calling it out. Oh, we supposed to love everybody. Hey, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Moses killed somebody. How many times you heard that? Religion promotes these behaviors. We have to call it what it is. Religion promotes these behaviors. Last thing I want to point out is herd behavior, because we see this a lot. Herd behavior. Herd behavior refers to the behavior of groups of individuals who act together without any planning or informed direction. Individuals often follow the group and try to fall in line with the opinion and behavior of the crowd. This human behavior leads to them being compared to the herd behavior of animals. Herd behavior is also called as herd mentality or herd instinct, is a widespread tendency of people to do or behave as the crowd do. So what is the origin of the herd behavior? The term herd behavior originates from the behavior of animals in herds, groups, and flocks. The herd behavior in animals is predominantly seen when a group of animals flee from a predator, according to the biologist W.D. Hamilton. Each member of, I didn't put the whole thing here, but what is the cause of herd behavior? Here's the kicker. Individuals become part of a group and resort to herd behavior when they feel they cannot voice their opinions alone. In this way, an individual feels more secure by being part of a group, as in the case of animals moving in herds as a precaution against predators. The cause of herd behavior may have its roots in the man's social conditioning to mimic the behavior of the herd. By nature, man finds it easy to conform rather than being labeled as a dissenter. A man is mentally conditioned to fall in line with the general opinion of the group, which also saves them the pain of any rejection and doubt. All right. The consequences. Herd behavior in humans may be efficient in some ways when some amount of social cohesion can be achieved through the group conformity. However, in many instances, herd behavior may have disastrous consequences when the group can go wrong. Excuse me, let me go back here. When groups can go wrong and the individual tend to lose his or her independence in the absence of an exchange of individual views and opinions, there is every chance for the group to commit collective blunders. We see this happening over and over again, especially when we're dealing with those that are coming against this awakening. So when the herd behavior is spurred by emotions, it can lead to hysterical behaviors as seen in mob violence or violent groups demonstrations. All right. So these are some of the conditions I just want to highlight that we are dealing with right now. We are dealing with right now. These are some of the behaviors we're dealing with right now. All right. So let's get into it. What is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? And we hear this a lot. What is the mark of the beast? All right. We're going to answer this question. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 and 17. Actually, it's going to be 15 through 17. Didn't update the slide, but I really want you to pay attention to this, family, because this is where a lot of people miss it when they are dealing with this particular prophecy, right? It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So now we're seeing that people are being killed for not worshiping this image. The image. Now, I share with you guys when I did the teaching on Freemasonry, I dealt with the image. The image that Paul even talks about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Right? The image of a group of people that set themselves up as trying to be a type of deity, to try to be as the most high, right, among Yah's people. Now, in that teaching that I did of Freemasonry, I taught and shared with you that letter G stands for Gomer. Let me pull that up real quick, and we're going to toggle back here just so that way you guys can really uh, put the two together, and we're going to go back to here. So I want to make sure you understand when it says here, and he had power to give life into the image of the beast. That image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So let me toggle over and let me show you here who this image is, because think about it. So many of our people are trading the beauty of their melanated, dark melanated skin to bleaching it, to looking like the very people that have oppressed us, trying to make our hair look like theirs, while they in return, they're trying to look like us. They're trying to make their skin complexion look like ours by getting all kinds of shots. They try to make their hair look like ours, put injections inside their lips and inside their their behinds, their butts, their legs, to try to look like us. And we're so busy trying not to look like ourselves. Right? So let me bring this up real quick and we'll get back to this lesson here. Let me just show you something here, family, to show you what Freemasonry, some of you guys are going to remember this, what Freemasonry is going to teach you. Freemasonry, not just Freemasonry, also fraternities and sororities. Let me show you who these systems, especially when we're dealing with the systems of man, is going to have you worship a particular image. And that image is identified right here. Right. I'm not just going to say the Caucasians, because we know that's a simple answer, but I'm gonna take it a step further. Not just saying the Caucasians or the white man, so to speak, as we know it, but let's take it a step further. Let's make it specific. Let's be more specific with what we say here. All right. So let me go to it right here. I'm going to bring this up real quick. Now I want you guys to pay attention to it. This is the letter G. Let me go to it real quick. I'm almost there. This is a very large presentation. All right. Now I want you guys to pay attention to this. Right. Let me bring it up here. All right. Let me bring it up here. There we have it. Right. I want to say peace and blessings to Michael. Appreciate the love and support. Thank you for blessing us, blessing the channel, blessing the platform with the seed here. And family, let's show some love for Michael Dukaman. Let's show some love for him. Thank you for being a blessing. Really appreciate you. All right. So let's see what it says here. Freemasonry, right? Freemasons, God. Pay attention to this, family, because we're going to start seeing the images, right? Because when we read the Maccabees, right, we see the Greeks were trying to put their images, right? We see the Romans putting their images. We see the people that have enslaved us putting their images. Where? The very thing that Paul prophesied about, the very thing that we see prophesied about in Genesis chapter 9, when you get down to verse 24 and verse 25. So the Freemasons' God, let's break this down real quick. And this is going to really tie into the image, right? This is the Freemasons' definition of God. Encyclopedia of Freemasonry is where it's coming from. God, G-O-D, the initials of Gomer Oz-Dabar. That should raise a red flag right there. Gomer, family. Gomer Oz-Dabar. It is a singular coincidence and worthy of thought that the letter composing the English name of deity should be the initials of the Hebrew word wisdom, strength, beauty. The three great pillars or metaphorical supports of Masonry. They seem to present almost the only reason that can reconcile a Mason to use the initial G. And its conspicuous suspension in the east of the lodge in place of the delta, the incident seemed to be more than an accident. So making it clear, it's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It was calculated to see that letter G and be at the center of that square and compass. Now, this is backwards. I got to fix this slide here, but it's Dabar, right? The letter D, Dabar, right? This is supposed to go right to left. Az, right? Or Azah, which is strength. Then we see Gamar or Gomer, which means beauty. So why is this important? Right? The only reason that can reconcile a Mason to use the letter or the initial G. Why that letter G, Freemasonry, these fraternities and sororities, this is the promotion or it promotes the worship of Gomer. That letter G stands for the worship of Gomer. Why is that important? Freemasonry promotes the worship of Gomer. Why is this important to know? Genesis chapter 10, verse 2. This is why. Here we go. Notice what it says here. I'm going to focus on verse 2. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz. That should be a red flag right there. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz. Right? The Hebrew definition of Gomer, we already dealt with that, but still Gomer, we see the name of Japheth and of his descendants. All right. The eldest son of Japheth, grandson of Noah, the progenitor of the earliest Sumerians and other branches of the Celtic family. Interesting, right? Interesting. Not going to delve into that right now. So why is this important to know? Why is this important to know? Verse 5, Genesis 10 and 5. Notice what this says, right? Let's go to 5. Right? By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongues, after their families and their nations. Right? This is important for us to know this, family. Right? This is important. Gomer is the father of Ashkenaz. 90% of the Jewish community is descendants of Ashkenaz. The key to this, right, for you to understand is Genesis chapter 9, verse 27. Notice what it says about Ashkenaz or Gomer or Japheth, rather, the descendants of Japheth. Elohim shall enlarge in Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Right? So every fraternity and sorority promotes the worship of Gomer. Here's some of the images that we see here. Right? Let me rewind it again. The images, right? Julia Farnese, that's the image that you see, the original images that you see of the so-called or of the what is called the Virgin Mary, the images that we see today. Caesar Borgia, we see the current images that we see of supposedly the Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. These are some of the images, and these images are the reflection of who? These are not the images that are a reflection of the scriptures. These are not our people. This is the image of the very people that have enslaved us. The worship of who? Gomer. The worship of Gomer. Freemasonry. I'll say it again. Freemasonry, fraternities and sororities, they are there to promote the worship of Gomer. I hope you guys understand that, right? I hope you understand that. The Constitution was all about the white man, Gomer, or in his descendants, Ashkenaz, right? It was all about that. It was all about the white man, not about the woman. Believe it or not, the benefit that the white woman got was child support, a system in place so that way that white man can just kick her to the curb without handling his responsibilities. That's the benefit that the white woman got. Do you know that up until the turn of the 20th century, that the white men, it was legal for white men to beat their women like kids with a belt? Did you know that it's documented? And I have it in one of the lessons. I have to do part 3. I haven't done part 3 yet of identity theft, the message I taught for over 3 years. But you'll see, I share a source there proving that the white woman had to serve her husband, the white man, as if he was God, as if he was a deity. Fact. Can't get away from that. But these are the images. These are the images. What images do you see inside the church right now? Many of these churches, you see the images of the Greeks, the very images the Greeks were trying to put up, right? The images that the Maccabees talk about. The very things that the images that the Greeks were trying to put up, we see them up right now, right? The very thing that Ezekiel chapter 8 talks about, these different images that Israel had on the walls inside the temple. Come on, family, we got to keep it real here. All right, let me take this down. Let's get back to here. So as you see here, and he had power to give unto the image of the beast, that the image, what's the image? We're talking about the worship of the very people that have enslaved us, took our identity, took the Negro Messiah and made the Messiah look like them. And now you have the people, our people, confused, right? Because now they put this Caucasian, hippie looking Messiah in front of them that looks just like the people that's oppressing them. And now they're strategically teaching the word, saying that this is the Messiah. Think about the psychological issues it creates. You got they've been taught that the Messiah looks like the oppressor. So now when that oppressor doing all kinds of crazy stuff, raping the women, raping the men, raping the children, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, our people are so messed up that we are taught to forgive them. We're taught not to put up any type of resistance. All right. So again, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So I want y'all to make a note of that, right? Because again, many confuse that scripture and mesh it with this right here, verse 16. And he causeth all, both small, great, rich, poor, free, bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? So these are two different things that many mesh together. It says here that many would not, those who would not worship this image of the beast, would not worship this white man, would not worship the Caucasian, would not worship its system. Guess what? They would be killed. It says, let me read it here, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. But when we get over to here, this is not the mark of the beast just being forced on people. It's more to that. It's more to that. You have people being tricked into receiving the mark of the beast. It's not saying that, hey, those that don't receive the mark is going to be killed. Those are going to have guns. That's not what this scripture is saying. It says, and he causes all, both small, great, rich, poor, free, and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Guess what, family? I'm gonna say this again. We miss it right here. The mark of the beast. Right? What is the mark of the beast? I want to say peace and blessings to Young Brew. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you for the seed that you sowed tonight. Family, let's show Young Brew some love here. Appreciate you, my brother. But getting back here, right? When we think about this, because we think that we're going to have a gun put to our head, right? And if you don't take the mark of the beast, you're going to be killed. That's not what this scripture says. Think about this. Many of us, as a people, when we think about the mark of the beast is simply authentication, simply verification, validation. That's what the mark of the beast is validation. Guess what? We were born into having a social security card. We were born to having a birth certificate. We were born to having these things, that is part of this system, the mark of the beast. Mark of the beast is a system, family. It's a system. It's not just a literal mark that many are thinking about, but it's a system of validation. And I'm going to show you that it's more than just some computer chip, because the purpose of a computer chip, if we want to go there, is for validation. The purpose of an ATM card with a chip on it is for validation, to get your money. The purpose of a driver's license, which now they're making it more universal, is the purpose of what? Validation. The purpose of your birth certificate is what? To validate that you are this person. The purpose of your social security card is what? Validation. And we're constantly seeing different things that are being used to validate people. So we can see right here, right? He causes both small and great, right? So this is deception. Our people are born into this system. It's not just dealing with putting computer chips, right? We are all part of that system of validation that we had no control of. Notice what it says. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, right? And when you think about the right hand, where does the Messiah sit at? The right hand of the Father, right? So now they're twisting and perverting with them of the Messiah's place here. Receive the mark in their right hand. So you're not worshiping the Messiah, you're worshiping the mark, and I'm gonna get into that mark. You're worshiping, still tying into the image of the very people that enslaved us. Come on, family. We gotta understand it. The mark of the beast is more than just a computer chip. It's a system of validation. And we as a people always, now I'm not going to say always, starting with the transatlantic world war, actually we could go before that, the sub-Saharan slave trade, we had to go through systems of validation forced on us. System of validation is forced on us, right? Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Think about it, family. Think about it. That no man might buy or sell save that he had the mark or the name of the beast. Guess what? You can't buy or sell without a way of validating who you are. You got to have a social security card. You got to have a birth certificate. You have to have a driver's license. You open up a bank account, they running your credit check. You open up car insurance, they running a credit check. You have to have these things, these pieces of identification to validate you in this system. I hope y'all grab hold of this. It's more than just a computer chip, as you see here. And that no man might buy or sell. Guess what? You have to have these form of IDs in order to buy and sell, family. You have to have a birth certificate. You have to have a driver's license. You have to have these different forms of validation. I want to say peace and blessings. Thank you for Mario Yashua forever. Thank you. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Thank you for the blessings, the contributions tonight. Much love, my brother. Keep up the information. You sharpened my sword a lot this past year. Really appreciate you, my brother. Thank you. And I'm going to let you guys know this week we're going to post the feast days. And if you guys want to come and we just celebrate the feast days, honor the feast days, let me feel free to let me know, and we'll make sure we make the arrangements and all. It's no cost to come honor and celebrate the feast days. We don't charge for any of our functions, but we'd love to have you come out, my brother. Appreciate you. All right. So it says here, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. Now, guess what, family? Now that's been added to this validation system is your vaccination shots. COVID. Remember, you could not buy or sell, or they were making it hard for you to buy or sell if you did not prove to that grocery store or that restaurant that you have the shot, that you took the jabs, violating your personal information, the HIPAA laws, your privacy, right to privacy, violating those things. So this is all what? Systems of validation, all part of this system of validation. That is the mark of the beast, the system of man's way of validating, right? We can't get away from that. We were born into it as a people, born into it. Let me prove that. Let me prove it to you. This is coming from Slave Patrols. Some of you guys may remember this source here. Slave Patrols and Violence in Virginia and the Carolinas by Chelsea Hansen, July 10th, 2019. Notice what it says. Again, in the revised 1688 version of this law, now we're dealing with slave patrols, right? The burden of capturing runaways was explicitly placed on all white men, all masters, overseers, and other persons whatsoever. So you see, we're dealing with who? White men. White men are like masters, they're overseers. This is why I don't like these terms, especially when we're dealing with Christianity and some of these denominations, Pentecostal denominations. They quick to use all kinds of terms. And one of the terms that they use is overseer. Man, I'm not trying to call nobody my overseer. We as a people, we embrace stuff and don't understand what we're embracing. You got people calling themselves overseers. Our people referring to themselves as overseers. If you heard that term, if you from the came out of the Pentecostal church or the Apostolic church, and you heard or denominations, if you heard that term overseers, type 1. If you haven't heard it, type 2. But I know overseers is one that's being used a lot now. Type 1 if you heard it, type 2 if you haven't heard it. All right. So and we'll read the responses here. All right. So we see Bach Wilson, you've heard it. Charles West, you've heard it. Let's see here. Going pretty fast for me. Future Spoken heard it. Malka Bat Israel heard it. Love Peace heard it. Tayari Ben Israel, excuse me. Tayari Yah Ben Israel, excuse me for butchering your name. My apologies. So Malaka, haven't heard it. Let's see. Atria Phillips, haven't heard it. So most of you guys have heard it, but many haven't heard it before. Let me read a few more names here. Let's see. Carol Gordon, she heard it. Let me change this banner. Looks kind of weird here. Let me change the appearance of this banner. Try to switch it up here a little bit, but I just don't like how that looked. Let me clean this up real quick. Let me use a different banner. No, I don't like that one. That's the classic one. See the bubble one. All right, we're just gonna go with the classic. I like the classic better. All right, I don't like the new, the small condensed one. All right, so let's see who else has heard it here. All right, let's see. Antoine Smith, Chris Walker, Nuria, an Orthodox Daughter of Zion, Timothy Prince, Young Brew, Jason Camford. You guys have heard it. Let's see here. Joy, haven't heard it. Peace and blessings, Sister Joy. Angela Boughton, she hasn't heard of that phrase being used, overseer. Monica Dixon have. Sharon Glover, peace and blessings, my sister. Appreciate the love and support. Sharon Glover, she haven't heard it. Israelite wife Desiree, she hasn't heard of that phrase or that term or that title. Wise Society, peace and blessings. Davion Murphy has heard it. W.S. Smith, haven't heard it. Tashia or Tashi, Israel, haven't heard it. So Sister Lynn, haven't heard it. So it's kind of 50-50. It's getting almost like 50-50. We see here Victory Wheatley, overseer of the district or that district. Yeah. Jehovah Witnesses circuit overseer. So you guys have heard it. Some of you guys have heard it for the most part, and some of you guys haven't heard of it. All right. So again, we see these terms. Look at what it says here. These are some of the terms that the slave owners used, right? Masters, overseers. This is why I really have it's a pet peeve of mine when I'm hearing some of the brothers. There's brothers out here that have their wife call them master, right? That's a whole nother discussion. So again, in the revised 1688 version, remember contradictory behavior, cognitive dissonance. Again, in the revised 1688 version of this law, slave law, the burden of capturing runaways was explicitly placed on all white men. Remember, Gomer, Ashkenaz. Think about all the players in the transatlantic World War, right? All masters, overseers, and other persons whatsoever who were required to give wandering slaves with no what? Tickets, a sound whipping. Now we see our ancestors could not buy or sell, could not move around without having a ticket. I want to say uh, BT, or I believe that, that's how you want me to pronounce it, but let me know if you want me to pronounce it differently. But BT, I want to say shalom to you. Appreciate you for the seed. I really appreciate it. Shalom, elder family. Only thing we need in us is the Rawak Hakwadash. Absolutely. Remember, when we see him, we will be like him. Think on that. Appreciate it. Right? We got to have the Holy Spirit in the day and time. That's the only thing that's going to really separate us, because that's what the Messiah said. He's gone. He has ascended, but he said he'll leave behind the Holy Spirit. And man, we need the Holy Spirit like never before. All right. So again, we see here, it says all masters, overseers, and other persons whatsoever who were required to give wandering slaves with no tickets a sound whipping and detain them until the owner could retrieve them. So we see that slaves, if you did not have a ticket, guess what? You were beat, you were held, you were locked up by anyone. Any white person could do this. Anyone had the authority to do this. Allah Ahmad Arbery, right? That this spirit came from somewhere, where as though these white men felt like they had to police our people. Come on, family. Some of you guys probably deal with this at your workplace. You have Caucasians that feel like they have to police you. You outrank them. You have a higher position than them, and it may even be your peers want to manage you. Come on, family. You see what's happening with the Karens. You got professional brothers and sisters. Karens feel like they have to facilitate or exert their authority over our people. Come on, family. This is where it comes from. The spirit of the slave patrols, because all of them were empowered to do so. And we see that goes all the way back to the Egyptians, because Pharaoh empowered his people, all of them, to kill the boys under 2. Anyway. The law now mandated, the mandates that bondsmen had passes when leaving their plantation. So now you have to have a ticket. Now you have to have a pass. You see how we are institutionalized from being at the age of a child. Have to have your hall pass if you want to go use the restroom. You're being groomed to have a hall pass. The law now mandated that bondsmen have passes when leaving their plantations, as it is absolutely necessary to the safety of this place. The historian Hilary Beckles has observed that in this sense, the entire white community, notice what it says, the entire white community function under the law as a collective police force. Y'all better grab hold of that right now, family. This is the origin. This is where it comes from. This is where it comes from, family. This is where it comes from. This is where it comes from. This is where it comes from. This is the behaviors that we see right now. This is where it comes from. This is where it comes from, family. This is where it comes from. And moderators, when you see stuff like that, block it, right? When you see people trying to, these trolls, block it, family. I appreciate you, moderators. So I went on and took care of the one that I just saw with the Bitcoin. But yeah, put them, give them the block party. All right. But nevertheless, the entire white community function under the law as a collective police force, right? Let's continue on with this source. Let's go to page 6. Southern whites feared their slaves and needed mastery over them. Let me say it again. Southern whites feared their slaves. Doesn't this sound like Exodus? Doesn't it sound like the pharaohs? Doesn't it sound like the Egyptians? They feared us. And they needed to come up with a scheme to keep us from understanding who we are. Southern whites feared their slaves and and needed mastery over them. The beginning of a formal, organized, and public slave patrol system in the antebellum South can be traced to the private, informal, and sometimes voluntary efforts of Spanish and individual colonists in the New World had to experience difficulty controlling their slaves before the rest of the white community would intervene to help restrict slave behavior. Spaniards might entice English colonist slaves to freedom by giving bondsmen a safe haven as runaways, or by encouraging them to act as fifth column, column forces during battle. Fugitive bondsmen caused recurring trouble for Spanish and Portuguese settlers. By the 1520s, runaways already posed problems for Spanish authorities in colonial Mexico. Fugitives had to be hunted down lest they inspire others to flee. Let's pick this apart. Page 11. The historian Richard Dunn has written that overseers, there's that word again, were expected to keep the Negro cabins under close surveillance. Doesn't it sound familiar? Doesn't it sound familiar that they had to keep us under close watch at all times? Expected to keep the Negro cabins under close surveillance, searching twice a month for stolen goods, clubs, wooden swords. Unlike in the Spanish colonies, few indications suggest that white Barbadians used former bondsmen as slave catchers and the militia. Notice you see that term militia. The failure of privately paid slave catchers in the 1650s may have influenced the 1661 Slave Code, the first comprehensive law regulating slaves in Barbados. The new law shifted the job of slave control firmly on to the shoulders of who? All whites, not just overseers. The preamble to the Act for the Better Ordering and Governing of Negroes reveals the motivating impulse behind the law's enactment. Slaves were a heathenish, brutish, and dangerous kind of people. Doesn't that sound familiar? We're still hearing these same type of stereotypes or words or that are synonymous to this over our people. Look at what Donald Trump said about Haiti. Look at what Joe Biden said about Haiti. Look at what the Democrats and Republicans, look at what they did to Haiti. Look at how they embraced the Afghanistans. Flew out over 100,000 of them and allowed 70 to 80,000 of them to come to this country. Come to this country. Roof over their head, free medical, put them in job situations, great education, put them in school, all kinds of things. But you had 10,000 Haitians at the border that they found a plane to put our people on and send them back to Haiti, back to a dire situation. Anyway, family, had them on horses. They were on horses. Looked like something, a throwback in history, right? So it says, wandering. It says here their propensity to wander away from their masters' plantations, either to run away deliberately or to steal goods and then resell them for personal gain, had long been the bane of Barbadian planters' lives. Constables and other white Barbadians shared responsibilities doing what? Apprehending runaways who managed to flee their home plantation. So, family, again, I gave you a little synopsis of that. I could go deeper in that. So, who or what is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast, family? I'm gonna have to give me something to drink. Let me get me something to drink. I'm gonna play a quick video here. I want to get me something to drink real quick before my throat goes dry on me. But let me play this quick video and let me grab me something to drink here. Here we go. Here's the video.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries, and you know, from the Renaissance. Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
All right, family. So you see there, an Ashkenazi Jewish person spilling the beans on what it means to be an Ashkenazi Jew. Let you hear his own words. All right. So what is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? Let's see here. I see some answers here. Let's see what we have here. Let's see some of the answers. The system of this evil Roman Empire, the Pope, the system. Let's see here. Sharon Glover, the system, Roman Catholics. All right. What is the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? Lot to unpack here. What is the mark of the beast? I gave you an answer, but I'm going to walk you through. Why Society want to say peace and blessings. Appreciate the blessings contributing to the works of this platform. Really appreciate the love and support, family, and let's show some love for to Why Society. Really appreciate you. Let's see here, system of man. So we're gonna break down the mark of the beast, family. We're gonna break this down. We are going to break this down. All right. We're going to break down the mark of the beast. All right. Let's see here. I see. Let me go ahead and block this here because I see that there's some trolls coming in again. So family, moderators, feel free whenever you see this big Bitcoin stuff, feel free to block it, block these individuals, kick them out. All right. Just so happened I saw it, so I was able to kick them out. Really appreciate it. All right. Some people put Babylon. Let's see here. You see Babylon. Money is the mark of the beast. Conformity to the system. All right. So let's go ahead and delve into it. Let's go ahead and answer this question. But I'm going to walk you through because I need to give you just kind of walk you through with the mark of the beast. Right. And I'm going to prove to you, family, that I'm going to show you that scripture, that the transatlantic world war is in the scriptures. Family, let's show some love to DJ Brightside on 206. Let's show some love to DJ Brightside. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you for sowing into this work here. Really appreciate you. And family, let's show some love to DJ Brightside. Hallelujah. Appreciate you. All right. So let's answer this question. I'm going to walk you through. Let's see what this is. Let's start with the mark of the beast, right? Let's understanding the mark of the beast. All right. Right now, this is, this is part of my Hebrew class here, but this question here, what is the law against muzzling the ox? Right. That's important to know, but I'm going to tie it in. But I really want to go to this key prophecy here, right? Revelation chapter 1, verse 8. I want you guys to understand this. Let's go to Revelation chapter 1, verse 8. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith Adonai Yah, which is and which was and which is to come, the Almighty. Now, family, this is where we have to understand the scriptures from a Hebraic perspective. The Most High is not saying in this text that he's Alpha and Omega, as we see here. When we see here the beginning and the ending, that's a start and a start date and an ending date. The Most High is infinite. And I'm going to break this down to you to give you proper clarity of what this means. I am Alpha. And those that have taken the Hebrew courses, you guys are going to know this here because I covered this inside the Hebrew lessons. I am Alpha. Let's see what it means. I am Alap, right? You see that that ox head? I am Alap. This is the first letter of the Hebrew Alap Bayat, right? This is where you get the word alphabet from. Alap Bayat, right? Aleph is the Israeli pronunciation of it, right? Beth, right? That's the second letter of the Hebrew, the Israeli language letters. But anyway, not getting into all of that. So this is the first letter, Alap, right? Numerical value is 1. It means leader, strength, power, right? Notice you see the ox head. So when you look at this letter, right? When you look at the letter A in the English language, actually that letter is upside down. That is the Aleph or the Alap, right? The Alap is upside down from when you see it in comparison to the ancient letter here. This is the pictograph of the ancient letter, right? But it means leader, strength, power. That's the first letter in the first title that you will learn, which is Abba, which is father. And then for mother, Ama, right? So understanding the signs, right? We're going to break this down. The Alap or Aleph is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. As the first letter, it would naturally be a reference to the Most High. In ancient Hebrew, an ox head represents this letter, which represents strength, power, leader. This letter, Alap, expresses the oneness of our Alahayim. It teaches the unity of our Alahayim in 3 persons. In other words, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right? The Father, Yahweh Alahayim, his Son, Ban Alahayim, the Holy Spirit, the Rawak HaKodash, our unity with our Alahayim. We don't need to use the word Trinity. The word Trinity is not even a biblical term. We have our Alahayim, and it's more than just some pagan word Trinity, right? Yahweh Alahayim, right? You'll see a lot inside the ancient text. So the Alap is also the first letter of the alphabet. So it reminds us of beginnings. But no, we're going to take it a step further because I don't like to just say beginnings, right? Aleph or Alap is the key letter in the Hebrew alphabet, right? So when we go to Deuteronomy 25:4, right? Thou shalt not muzzle Chasam, the ox, Shawar, when he treadeth out the corn. So what does this mean? An ox was often used to trample across a threshing floor in order to separate the ears of grain from the stalk. Sometimes the ox pulled a large millstone that crushed the grain for making the flour, right? The law stipulated that the ox could not be muzzled while he was treading out the grain. Technically, what this means, this is judgment. The ox is performing judgment. So when you start modifying the letters, guess what? You're muzzling the ox. When you start changing these letters and turning them upside down, guess what? You're muzzling the ox, right? The oxen was working, therefore he deserved to eat, right? So this is key, right? In ancient Hebrew, right? Alap is pronounced. In Israeli language, the Aleph is silent, right? The Aleph is silent and the Ayan is silent. Why is that important? Because when we look at the ancient Hebrew word that transliterates to the English God or Got, right? Alaha, Aramaic, Alaha. Ancient Hebrew is Alaha Yam, the masculine plural. But notice you see Alaha, Allah still has what? The ah sound. Now, when we get into L, that's not an ancient sound right there. L, that's not an ancient sound. L, you have to use the code system in order to understand how to pronounce this sound. The ancient Hebrew, Alaha, Allah, or Alahayam, not L, or anyway. So the Hebrew definition of silence. So because there's an all-out attack to silence the Most High, starting with his language, the language he gave to his people, right? Dama, right? Damam, right? Notice what it says: to be dumb, to stop, to perish, cease, be cut down, cut off, right? So silent, right? Key quote silent, dama, means to be dumb, it means to stop, it means to perish, it means to cease. And this is what these systems of man want to do, is silence the authority of the Most High and push their so-called messiahs and leaders, Allah, the Pope. So silencing the Allah will allow the changing of the associated signs. Now, guess what? We're going to pull it together here. We're getting there, right? Tread out. Dayash means to judge. So this laws prevents muzzling an ox while the ox is working. An ox, again, was often used to trample across the threshing floor in order to separate the ears of grain from the stalk. So again, silencing the alap and treading the corn is an attempt to stop, change, or modify judgment, redemption. We have to allow Yah to silence the inner chatter, silence these haters, silence these religious systems of man, so we can focus on the things of the Most High. We got to get away from it. So going back to this key quote, I am Alap, right? I am Alap, not Alpha, Omega. Let's see what Omega means, right? When we bring it together, when we look at the Ah and the Tha from the ancient Hebrew, the Ah, the Tha, those two letters forms the word sign. So what this scripture is actually saying, the Most High is saying that he is the signs. That's what he's saying. He is the sign. All signs come from the Most High. All signs come from the Most High, right? Great question here. Isn't Elohim related theologically, pluralistically? We'll do a teaching on it, and I actually did a teaching on this with the letters. I go over the ancient pronunciation is Alahayam. The Israeli pronunciation is Elohim. The singular Allah, right? In ancient and Israeli El, right? So ancient Hebrew is a big difference between ancient and the Israeli language. So that's a great question right there. And here's the kicker. For those that are not familiar with ancient Hebrew, right? Ancient Hebrew did not have an O sound. It didn't have a lot of these different vowels that we see today. Let me play a quick video, and then we'll get right back and explaining Alpha and Omega. Let me play a quick video that gives clarity on that.
Here's a chart that summarizes vowel class and length. And you can see across the top the three classes, A, E, and U. And then down the side, the four lengths, long, medium, short, and very short. So let's just go over this chart. We'll start with the A class vowels. The long vowel is cholam vav, and you'll recall that this says O as in snow. Now you might wonder why an O vowel is in the A class, and this is because of historical considerations. Originally there was no O sound in Hebrew. Everything that is a cholam vav used to be a long A. If you know the Hebrew word for peace, it's shalom. If you know the Arabic word for peace, it's salam. And that long A in Arabic is now an O in Hebrew. And so historically, cholam vav was a long A class vowel, and that's why we put it here.
All right, so I just wanted to play that so that way you guys can hear and understand. There was no O sounds. The U sound comes from the O sound. There was no O sounds. There was no U sounds. Initially, it was just strictly the A sound. Then it began to be stretched out to form the other vowels that we see. So ancient Hebrew did not have all these vowel movements. You have another language that didn't have all these different vowels, but just the A, which is ge'ez, which is referred to also ga'az. That's the proper pronunciation of it. It did not have all these vowels. It just had the A associated with its consonants. So anyway, I am Alpha and Omega, right? The very first letter of the Hebrew alphabet or alphabets is the alap, the A. The last letter is the Tha. And together they spell the word sign. So the Most High is making it clear that the signs come from him. To confirm that, we see the Messiah's skin complexion in chapter 1 of Revelation. Well, guess what? When you go to Exodus, I believe chapter 4, you see that the Most High allowed Moses to use his skin complexion as what? A sign. This is messing up that so-called skin doctrine that the church is trying to accuse our community for teaching, where we see the Most High deals with skin complexion when it deals with penalties, when it deals with the signs. So Moses' dark skin was a sign to Israel, who was in a state of not knowing the Most High. They knew his literal name, but they did not have a relationship with him. All they knew was the authority of the Pharaoh from bondage. Sound familiar? Sound like our community. So we see when we get to Revelation chapter 1, I am the and the Tha. In other words, I am the signs. Right. So that's what that actually means. The Most High is the signs. In other words, all signs come from him. And we see the sign that he gives us in Revelation chapter 1. You'll also see it in Revelation chapter 2 again, is the skin complexion, the appearance of the Messiah, his woolly hair, right? His skin as a like burnt brass. Like means having the same characteristics of. So dark skin, woolly hair, right? Those are the sign. Anyway, that's the signs, the proof, the evidence. That's what this is actually stating here. So, but let me explain. Let me bring it up here. This quote is actually referring to signs, right? The Hebrew definition of signs, right? You see here, ath, right? Or atha. Well, and we're just going to go with the ath because we have the connector there. So let's go to the definition of this, right? This is the Israeli pronunciation of it is oath, right? Because you see this is a vowel letter. You see the colon involved, just what I just played. The video I just played stating that there was no O sounds in ancient Hebrew. But notice what it says this here. It says a signal, evidence, mark, miracle, proof. Now, what's interesting is the numerical value for the Tha is 400, right? 400 years. So it means a signal, evidence, mark, miracle, proof. So a sign is a distinctive and uniquely recognizable, right? That's what it is. A sign is distinctive and uniquely recognizable. So in modern Hebrew, you are never pronouncing the actual letter but you are actually pronouncing the speckle. This is what you see here, not quad. That's the ancient Hebrew pronunciation, not quad. The Israeli pronunciation is nikud. So you only pronouncing the mark of man. Oh, y'all better grab hold of this. I hope y'all grab hold of this. Family, we breaking down what? The marks of the beast, right? The nikud is a system that was created by the Masoretes, who were not Israel. They were not blood descendants of Israel. They were not ancient Israelites, but they created what? A system of man that interpolated the language to have their accent over the language. So we see, when we see that naquad, or the Israeli pronunciation, nikud, notice speckle. Let me break it down. Let's see what the nikud or naquad means. Let's see what it means. Hebrew definition of speckle, right? Here it is. Notice what you see here, not quad, right? Notice what it says here, even though you got the O here, so it'd be not code, right? But ancient Hebrew pronunciation when I'm pronouncing it, right? But notice what you see here, right? And some will call it the nikud. But anyway, we see here to mark by puncturing or branding. So we see that our language was what? Branded. I want y'all to pay attention to this, family. This is why they trying to do everything. When I say they, this system, these colonizers, this system, this race, this institutional race, these people are doing any and everything that they can to stop us from understanding who we are. They are doing everything that they can to taint and profane the signs. So do not let these people that these haters trying to tell you, when you bring up the Messiah's skin complexion, Do not let them tell you that you are dealing with skin doctrine, that you are a cult for doing that, because guess what? The Most High dealt with it in the scriptures. Now let's deal with this speckled, right? Notice what it says. That word comes from the word naquad. Here is not cold, but that's a whole nother. We talked about this, but anyway, it means to mark, puncturing, or branding. So when you see this word naquad, right, this is telling you this is not a natural mark. Let me say that again. This is not a natural mark. Let me prove it to you. Let's go to Genesis chapter 30, verse 32, right? This is dealing with Jacob. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted, right? Speckled. This is those that all the cattle, all his animals that was that was branded, that he had to place a mark on them. Spotted, right? Tala, right? This is actually those that had natural marks. So naquad, right? I'm pronouncing it from the ancient perspective. Naquad means to put a mark. Brandon. Oh, y'all better grab hold of this. So when you look at these marks, they're telling you, this system is telling you that they are branding our language. They're putting their mark on our language. And so many of our brothers and sisters are embracing this Nakud system, this branding system, and don't even realize what it really means. Man, family, it goes deeper. It goes deeper. Remember, we're seeing the mark here. We're seeing some marks here. I will pass. It's system of validation. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled, naquad, and spotted, tala, cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep. And the spotted and speckled, in other words, those that were branded with an unnatural mark and those that were naturally marked. Among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. All right. Now, notice this here. These are the key letters in the Hebrew, right? The ancient Hebrew that was branded. Here's some key letters. The Alap was branded because you're never in the Israeli language, right? You're never pronouncing this letter, right? You're never pronouncing this letter. Alap, leader, strength, power, teach. You're never pronouncing this letter in the words. It's silence. You're pronouncing the mark of man. The next one is the ha, right? Israeli language is pronounced hey, but it means reveal, uncover, open. It's interchangeable with gala, reveal, revelation, gullah, right? Gullah, right? That's our people. You hear the term gullah people. It's actually gala in ancient Hebrew. That's us. That's not a separate people. That is us. That's our people. The term Gullah Geechee, that phrase was placed over our people of those that have what? Rebelled against the slave owners, and those that are descendants of those that have rebelled against slave owners. Guess what? We all pretty much are descendants of those that rebelled against the slave owners. Guess what? We are Gala. We are Gullah. Come on, family. It's all in the letters, but this letter in the Israeli language, guess what? It is used as a vowel letter. It can make a number of different vowel sounds. The Greeks had no use for this letter, so they made it into what? A vowel sound, vowel letter. Here's another letter, the wa, which is now pronounced in the Israeli language va, with a V sound versus a wa, right? So tent, peg, hook, secure. Right? You could talk about having a lifeline, but you have to have security, right? You have to secure that tent, right? The yod, this is another important letter. All of them are important, but the numerical value of this letter is 10. This letter means hand, arm, redemption. The Messiah talks about not even cutting the hairs horns of this letter. Karas, right? The Greek pronunciation of this letter, right? Iota is the actual Greek letter, but tittle karas, which means hair, right? Don't even cut the hair of the horns of this letter. So this letter means redemption. So the ha can make multiple sounds. We got the yod making multiple sounds in this Israeli language, right? Here's another letter that's completely silent. The ion. It means eye, sight, watch. Numerical value is 70. Remind you of the 70 elders, right? In Numbers chapter 11. That's where you see the original day of Pentecost, where the 70 elders got filled with the Holy Spirit. If you really want to understand the day of Pentecost in Acts chapter 2, read Numbers chapter 11, and it gives you the proper perspective of what occurred in Acts chapter 2. But this is another letter that is silent. All right. Here's another one. Pa. Man shall not live by bread alone, by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High. Pa means mind, mouth, instructions, command. So when Paul says, let this mind be in you that is in the Messiah, what he's saying is let the words that come out of your mouth be in alignment with the words that came out of the Messiah's mouth. And the Messiah taught the law, statutes, and commandments. So guess what? You have to teach the law, statutes, and commandments if you're saying that you're being like the Messiah, that you're letting that mind that's in the Messiah be in you. Pa. Can't get away from it. Messiah quoted this in Matthew chapter 4. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. So a man live. That's Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2. Right? So Pa, this is the front profile. Side profile of the front. Doesn't that look like us? Doesn't that resemble the fullness of our lips? Right? The other one, Shan. In the Israeli language, it's the sheen. It has the sheen or the scene. It has the dots. Then if it's to the left, seen. If it's to the right, sheen. Come on, family. This letter is also teeth tool. Numerical value 300. Make you think about Gideon and his soldiers. 300 teeth. So not only were the letters branded, right? Let me make this clear, family. Not only was our language branded, but also the people connected to the letters and their language were branded. Y'all better grab hold of this, family. It wasn't just the letters that was branded, but this system, this beast, right? Gomer, anyway, putting his image among Yah's people. Guess what Gomer did? Gomer not only branded our language, but they branded the people that the language is associated with. Come on, family. Come on, family. Naquad, that's not a natural mark. So not only were the key letters branded, but also the people connected to the letters in language, Lashan, were branded. Let's break this down here, family. Let's break this down. This is coming from PBS.org. Notice what it says here. The captives were about to embark on the infamous Middle Passage, so-called because it was the middle leg of a three-part voyage, a voyage that began and ended in Europe. The first leg of the voyage carried a cargo that often included iron, cloth, brandy, firearms, and gunpowder. Upon landing on Africa's slave coast, the cargo was exchanged for Africans, fully loaded with its human cargo. The ship set sail for the Americas, where the slaves were exchanged for sugar, tobacco, or some other product. The final leg brought the ship back to Europe. Peep this out. The slaves were branded with hot irons. Let me say that again. The slaves were branded with hot irons and restrained with shackles. Let me say it one more time. The slaves were branded with hot irons and restrained with shackles. Let me say it in slow motion. The slaves were branded with hot irons and restrained with shackles. For the people in the back, let's give a garbage can to the oppressors. Let's give a 3-piece to the oppressors. Let's give them their order to go. All right. So the slaves were branded with hot irons and restrained with shackles. Their living quarters were often a deck within the ship that had less than 5 feet of headroom. And throughout a large portion of the deck, sleeping shelves cut this limited amount of headroom in half. Lack of standing headroom was the least of the slaves. It's going to say worries, right? But notice this is the fleur de lis. The fleur de lis. The New Orleans Saints. Y'all better grab hold of that, family. This is the many of our brothers and sisters. Yeah, wearing New Orleans Saints jerseys and helmets and all kinds of paraphernalia. You know, not even realizing that this fleur de lis was used to castrate. It was used to cut the hamstrings. It was used to literally put a slit down the slave's nose, face to deform them, and they will put their face over heat. This fleur de lis, you see it everywhere. It's all up in the church. You see these on shoes. You see this on, tiles. This fleur de lis, also referred to as the lotus flower. Come on, family. This is what our people were branded with. This is what our people were branded with. Slaves were also branded naquad if they made any attempt to escape. Notice this here. This is the Le Code Noir, which is also called the Black Codes. Make it imperative on slave masters to impart religious instructions to their slaves. Permits the exercise of Roman Catholic creed only. Every other mode of worship is prohibited, right? Negroes, this is number 4. Negroes placed under the direction or supervision of any other person than a Catholic are liable to confiscation, right? Article 5, Sundays and holidays are to be strictly observed. All Negroes found at work on these days are to be confiscated. All right. The offender shall be branded with the mark of the fleur de lis. Branded with the mark. Come on, our people couldn't buy or sell. Y'all better grab hold of this, family. Our people couldn't buy or sell. The transatlantic world war is all prophesied within the holy text. The Messiah, when he was dealing with the Great Tribulation, guess what? You will see that is the transatlantic world war. And we're still dealing with it right now. And when you see the times of sorrow, the times of Odin, you'll see that is dealing with 70 AD, the prophecy of 70 AD. There's 2 ugly periods that the Messiah is prophesying about. And we know the Great Tribulation for our people was a cry that was never before. It was so ugly, that one of the ugliest periods since the time of Noah. Come on, family. I'm going to break Matthew's chapter 24 down. The offender shall be branded with the mark of the fleur de lis and should be aggravating circumstances. Capital punishment may be applied at the discretion of our judge. So when we go back here, let me bring this together. The ah, which is leader, strength, power, teach. The tha, signs, mark, evidence. Guess what? Together, this forms the word sign that we just covered, right? But guess what? I'm going to stretch this out. Y'all see Letterman, right? For some of you old heads, right, that remember electric company, Letterman, right? So now we're going to add a ha to the end of it. So instead of ath, which is signs, now we see atha, which means you. Okay, let me prove it to you, which means reveal. The ha means reveal. The signs reveal to who? You, Israel. There's something special about you, Israel. Who are the signs created for? I gave you the answer. Here it is. This is the Hebrew word, right? We see atah, but in ancient is atha, right? Notice what it says. Thou, thee, or plural, ye, and you, right? So we just broke down the so-called Alpha and Omega to show that it actually means signs for who? You, Israel. It's all about you, Israel. The Messiah was his skin complexion and all his descriptions is just like Moses, a sign for Israel to believe, who are not believing, who is not consistent in following, being followers of the way. Come on, family. You see it right here. It's right in the language. This is it's right in the language, right? This is all in the language. The signs were created for you, Atha, Israel. Let me say that again. The signs were created for you, Atha, Israel. So again, there is an all-out assault to muzzle the ox, to muzzle the original language, which leads me to still dealing with the mark, right? Because I want to deal with the 666. I don't know if I put the scripture here. Let me look at it real quick. Let me see here. Let me see if I put it in here. If I didn't, I'll have to put it in, or we just read it, because we're going to close out with this right here. We covered a lot, but I want to deal with this here. We want to deal with 666. Let me see if I have the scripture here. Let me put it in here real quick. All right, let's put it in here, because we need to understand 666. Let me put 666 in here. All right, let's see if we can insert. Oops, still want to do that. If not, I'll just read the scriptures, but I want to insert this here. All right. Bear with me 1 second, family. I know we're covering a lot, but I want to give you a lot. I want to give you a lot. Make sure you understand the mark of the beast. And we're going to continue on. This is just part 1. Let me see here. Let me see here. All right, 13 through 18. I don't know if I'll put it in here. Let me see here. All right, almost done here. All right. Let's see here. All right. All right, let me just put 18 here. All right, almost have it here, family. All right, there it is. All right, 'cause I just really wanted to put this here so we could read it. All right, let me put this inside on your screen so we can understand this here. All right. All right, 6. Oops, 13. All right. All right, let me bring it up on your screen. All right, let me start off with this here. Let's go back. All right, so let's highlight this scripture here. Let's go back here. Right? This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 603 scores and 6. So 666. Now, family, the significance of 666 comes from Genesis, right? 666, man was created on the 6th day. So when you see 666 here, this is referring to the system of man. So here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 603 scores and 6, 666. Now, with that being said, let's deal with one of the systems of man, right? Let's deal with one of these systems that have enslaved our people, that have placed marks, that have branded our language, and also branded put the people of the Most High, right? Let's see what it says. Let's go here. Zionism, right? The etymology dictionary definition of Zionism. Let's see what it says. Movement for forming a Jewish national state in Palestine, first recorded in 1886. So the word Zionism comes from the word Zion. This is what Zion means. This is the etymology dictionary definition of it. It says, name of a Canaanite hill fortress in Jerusalem captured by David and called in the Bible the city of David. All right. So what is Zionism? Let's break down Zionism. This is coming from the Encyclopedia Britannica definition of Zionism. It says this: Jewish nationalist movement that has had as its goal the creation and support of a Jewish national state in Palestine, the ancient homeland of the Jews, and it goes on to say, through Zionism, originated in Eastern and Central Europe in the latter part of the 19th century. And family, if you understand the history, the original place that the Jewish community, as we know them, were trying to get was Uganda. You have to look up the Uganda Council. I believe it was either 1903 or 1906. They were targeting Uganda. And when that fell flat, then they targeted Houston, right? They want to make Houston, they want to make that area into a Jewish state. That didn't work. They tried to go to Canada. And then they circled back to what is called the Middle East, right? Which is actually Northeast Africa, right? So when you understand this, again, the Zionists were not trying to get initially that territory. They were targeting Uganda, all right? And matter of fact, you guys know me, I have presentations for days. So let me just show you, because I don't want to just talk about it, but I want to show it to you. And we're going to deal with this portion of the system of man. Let me pull it up real quick. Let's see here. All right, let's see here. Let's see. All right, let me pull it up here. Let's see here. All right, let's pull this one up. This is an old presentation that I haven't upgraded in a while. So it's going to look kind of dated, but it's all good. All right, let me read to you here. Let me pull this up real quick, and then we'll continue to deal with the Zionists. All right. Zionist Congress, the Uganda proposal. All right. Let's see if you guys can see this here. All right, you guys can see this. I'm telling you, the image, right, of this beast, Gomer and its descendants. All right, let's see what it says here. This is the Zionist Congress, the Uganda proposal, August 26, 1903. When Theodore Herzl began his quest to establish a homeland for the Jewish people, he sought out the support of the great powers to help achieve his goal. In 1903, Herzl turned to Great Britain and met with Joseph Chamberlain, the British colonial secretary, and other high-ranking officials who agreed in principle to Jewish settlements in East Africa. At the Sixth Zionist Congress at Basel on August 26, 1903, Herzl proposed the British Uganda program as a temporary refuge for Jews in Russia in immediate danger. By a vote of 295 to 178, it was decided to send an expedition, in other words, an investigatory commission to examine the territory proposed. 3 days later, The British Uganda program was finally rejected by the Zionist movement at the Seventh Zionist Congress in 1905 by Nahum Sirikin and Israel Zangwill, called an alternative conference to continue the plan of the Uganda scheme. The fortunes of the territorialist movement depended to no small degree on the seriousness of anti-Semitism on the one hand, and the failure of the political dimensions of Zionism or Zionist activity on the other hand. For example, the movement's rank swelled somewhat following the pogroms in 1905, but declined considerably after securing the Balfour Declaration, right? Zangwill became the movement's undisputed leader after the rejection of the Uganda scheme on the grounds of impracticability by the British. Zangwill turned his attention to settlements in Canada and Australia, but opposition from local residents led him to abandon the scheme. Expeditions were sent to Mesopotamia, which is Iraq, I'm not even going to butcher it, Cyrenaica, or forgive me if I butcher the name, which is Libya, also Angola. But little came of these expeditions. A project that had some concrete success was the Galveston scheme, which contemplated the settlement of Jews in the America Southwest. And I'm just all over the place tonight with my reading. A project that had some concrete success was the Galveston scheme, which contemplated the settlement of Jews and the American Southwest, in particular in Texas. The project received the assistance of Jacob Schiff, the American Jewish banker, and some 9,300 Jews arrived in that area between 1907 and 1914 through the Immigration Bureau of the Territorialist Organization. All right. So I just wanted to give you a little history on that. Got more I could share on that. All right. So I just want to make sure that I give you at least one source to show that they targeted Uganda, right? When I say they, the Zionists, the Jewish community as we know them, they targeted Uganda. And most of you guys don't know that, but we need to understand this history. All right. So through Zionism originated in the Eastern and Central Europe in the latter part of the 19th century, it is in many ways a continuation of the ancient attachment of the Jews, not correct, but anyway, of the Jewish religion to the historical region of Palestine, where one of the hills of ancient Jerusalem was called Zion. So let's deal with the offshoot, right? We're dealing with Zionism, but the offshoot of Zionism is Judaism. So Zionism, along with Judaism, Catholicism, Christianity, are from the same bitter waters of the Babylonians. So here's a key doctrine of the Zionists, right? 6 million, right? 6 million is a Kabbalistic number. It is numerologically predetermined through various dark conjuring rites, supernatural imbued with power. As a result, it can never, ever be changed. This is critical. Central to the hex, 6 million is the number. There are never more deaths. There are never less. 6 million is the number. It must be ritually repeated and publicly acknowledged. 6 million never refers to actual deaths. It is a purely symbolic, esoteric, mystical number symbolizing the perfect results, a perfect creation, a magical great work in progress. So remember, notice that number 6 million. We're dealing with a system. Remember the 666, the system of man. The number 6 is significant because of man being created on the sixth day, right? In Judaism, right, in Jewish mysticism, they teach that in the Old Testament, there's 600,000 characters. And so they multiply it by 10. This is where you get 6 million. So many different ways that they teach that they get to the 6 million number. But 6 million is a mystical number. As I just read here, it is a system. It represents their system, right? So there are never more deaths, right? There are never less. 6 million is the number. It must be ritually repeated and publicly acknowledged. Understand, family, who owns the media? What is media? What's the definition of media? The main means of mass communication, right? Regarded collectively. The plural form of media is medium. So we see broadcasting, publishing, and the internet, social media, right? Medium, we just covered this, but the intervening substance through which impressions are conveyed to the senses, or a force acts on objects at a distance. So here's another key word we want to deal with: jewelry. What does jewelry mean? I'm not sure if you guys ever asked that question, but this is what jewelry means. Ghetto, the Jewish district in a town. So jewelry, it's not from jewelry like gold, silver, but jewelry, right? It's ghetto, the Jewish district in a town, right? Jewelry is interchangeable with the word ghetto. Ghetto is a Jewish district within a town. This is coming from the Jewish Almanac. And notice what they say about ghetto, right? It's a Yiddish word. Guess what, family? Many of our brothers and sisters are promoting that word ghetto. Yeah, you know I'm ghetto, right? That's not even original. That is Yiddish. You speaking Yiddish if you're embracing that term ghetto. None of us should be embracing ghetto, being ghetto. But how many times have you heard it? The ghetto. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Oh, y'all better grab hold of this, family. We sharing a lot of information tonight. A lot of information tonight. Right? Yiddish. Ghetto is Yiddish from the Italian diminutive for borghetto, a little borough. So, the 5 boroughs, right? The 5 boroughs. Who created the 5 boroughs? Oh, 5. Ha. The numerical value is 5, the 5th letter. Who created the 5 boroughs? Who came up with that term? Borghetto, right? So the place where the whole fraternity of Jews dwell together. Okay. Key understanding of Jewry, right? This is coming from the Outline of History, H.G. Wells, page 494. On one occasion, the Udameans, right now we're dealing with we're dealing with the Edomites, right? Being conquered, were all forcibly made Jews. Really? So you see in converse, right? Converse, but I don't like using that word Jew because that's a very deceptive word. But it goes on to say there were Arab tribes who were Jews in the time of Muhammad, and a Turkish people who were mainly Jews in South Russia in the 9th century. In the 9th century? Judaism is indeed the reconstructed political ideal of many shattered people. So this is telling you that when you use the word Jew, right, you see the Edomites associated with this. You see why this word is a word of confusion? You see the word of confusion here? So Udameas, that's Esau's descendants. That's the Edomites, saying that they were forcibly made Jews. So, so we see a transition. Come on, family. Then we see, it says Arab tribes in the time of Muhammad, which was a Turkish people. Oh, so we see in converts here. This is telling you about converts. Because remember, Aaron Elhake said the Jewish community as we know them, they are tied to the Turks, referred to them as a Turkish people, descendants of Gomer. Well, y'all better grab hold of this, family. Dropping a lot of information tonight, right? The main part of Jewry never was in Judea. Notice what it says is the main part of Jewry never was in Judea and had never come out of Judea. So that this Judaism is not Judah. These these communities did not come out of Judah. That's why they say in there, page 3 of this Jewish encyclopedia, that they should not use the word Jew with ancient Hebrews or ancient Israelites. Come on, family. So this is where we got to understand charms, because Karl Rove said, hey, you keep repeating the same lie over and over again, people will eventually believe it and receive it as if it's the truth. So that is what is called charms. What are charms? Incantation, magic charm, magic spell, incantation, song, enchantment, religious formula. Canary, in other words, to sing. Many of our brothers and sisters have become canary birds. It means to recite or cast a magical spell, to enchant, to fill, in other words, someone with desire. So remember, right, when we deal with 6 million, that is a chant. Have so many people having the spirit of the canary, because singing these spells, they have cast the spell over people to echo and quote 6 million, right? The 6 million number magic spell is continuously rehearsed through media. Let me say it again. The 6 million numbered magic spell is continuously rehearsed through media. Right there, remember, there are never more deaths. There are never less. 6 million is the number. It must be ritually repeated and publicly acknowledged. So this is just a few articles. Some of you guys probably remember this, right? $1 billion. That sounds like Austin Power. $1 billion, right? $1 billion fund to rebuild Jewry. In other words, their communities, New York, and this is from the New York Times. And what? October 18th, 1918. Do you know $1 billion back in 1918? You can buy an entire, basically a nation at that time. $1 billion. $1 billion. Think of how much Louisiana was purchased. Think about how much the United States paid for Alaska. $1 billion. Right? It says here $1 billion to fund rebuild Jewry. But notice here, 6 million souls will need help to resume normal life when the war is ended. Remember that 6 million, that is the charm, that is the spell. Loans Without Interest Committee of American Jews laid plans for the greatest humanitarian task in history. 6 million Jews need help. And this is the original article right here. 6 million souls will need help. Ukrainian Jews. Oh, wait a minute. Ukrainian. Wait a minute. We dealing with Ukraine. They were getting money back then. Right now they received over $60 billion thus far since January. Ukrainian Jews aim to stop pogroms. Let's see what this says. September 8th, 1919. It says, this is the printed headline. Ukrainian Jews aim to stop pogroms, commissioned to visit Europe and prepare a memorandum for President Wilson. Lansing gives permission. Mass meeting hears that 127,000 Jews have been killed. And notice this number here. And 6 million are in peril. We're dealing with the system of man. Come on, family. We got to understand 666, right? This system of man. Judaism is one of the systems of man that enslaved Yah's people. Christianity, Catholicism is another system of man that enslaved our people. Islam is another system of man that enslaved our people, right? That was the precursor to the transatlantic world war. But notice you see 6 million again. And here's the original article right here, right? This is the original article. Downloaded from the archives from New York Times. Tell sad plight of Jews. New York Times. November 12th, 1919. Well before the Holocaust, the successive blows of contending armies have all but broken the back of European Jewry, he said, and have reduced to tragically unbelievable poverty, starvation, and disease about 6 million souls, or half the Jewish population on the earth. Wait a minute. So we see 6 million again, family. Remember, I said that's a spell. That is those are charms. Have people operating in the spirit of the canary, just echoing stuff and don't have no clue about what they're talking about under the spell. We just talked about Ukraine, and we're dealing with the Ukrainians today, right? 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 See how we're being hustled, family? See how we're being hustled. All right. Here's the original article: 6 million souls, or half the Jewish population of the earth. The Jewish people throughout Eastern Europe by sheer accident of geography. All right. So let's go to another one. Jewish war aids gets 100,000 gift, 1920. Right. But notice this here again. The fund for Jewish war suffers in Central and Eastern Europe, where 6 million face horrifying conditions of famine, disease, and death. Notice we see here again, 6 million. 6 million is the magic number, right? Gonna have me go. What's that other one? I can't remember the name of it. Schoolhouse Rock. It's the magic number. Yes, it is the magic number. So Jewish war, as you see here, this is the original article right here. 6 million is behind here underneath this text here, but 6 million is the magic number. So why are these articles important? Why? The Jewish community began to promote the narrative of 6 million Jewish victims 30 years before the Holocaust. Remember, I said that is the magic number. What is the meaning of Holocaust? Let's go to Oxford Dictionary definition. The mass murder of Jews under the German Nazi regime during the period of 1941 to 1945, more than, notice here, notice the witchcraft, notice the spell casting, notice the charm, more than 6 million Jews, as well as members of other persecuted groups, were murdered at concentration camps such as Auschwitz. Look at the influence. That's why I really wanted to show you the influence. But when did Holocaust, and I'm going to show you Holocaust, when did that get associated with also offering? We want to deal with that. But Holocaust, the mass murder of the Jews under the German Nazis. Wait a minute. Nazis, Ashkenazis. German means Ashkenaz. Ashkenazis. Interesting, right? So the etymology dictionary definition of Holocaust, notice what it says. Sacrificed by fire. So they're saying that 6 million Jews were sacrificed, human sacrifice, burnt offering, a thing wholly burnt whole, burnt offering. Then we see here, and given a wider figurative sense, massacre, destruction of a large number of people or persons, rather. Originally a Bible word for burnt offerings. So they took that word and then they made it into a massacre, meaning massacre, destruction of a large number of persons. So here's the Hebrew word for burnt offerings, the Hebrew definition of it. Right, we see Ayla, right, which says here, he immigrated to Israel. We see was brought up, was taken up. He caused to go up on the altar, said of sacrifices. So the burnt offering, Ayla, right? This is the burnt offering. That transliterates to, they put Holocaust, right? But Holocaust, that word was supposed to be connected to the burnt offering. Now they're saying 6 million Jews were sacrificed. Right. So I'm just showing you the definition here. So the word Holocaust has the overtones of human sacrifice. Let me say that again. The word Holocaust has the overtones of human sacrifice. So when did the burnt offering ever represent human sacrifice? To fully understand this question, start by understanding bloodletting. I'm not going to get into it tonight. There's a lot I can pull out with bloodletting. The burning of the Talmud, where they burnt over 24 carts, a book stacked with the Talmud back in the 11th, 12th century. So, but let's close out with this note here, right? Let's close out on this note. I know I'm going geek mode here. I know I am giving you a lot of information. A lot of information. So let's close out on this note. Poland agrees to change Auschwitz tablets. So we keep hearing the 6 million number, but let's see what these Jews of Poland has to say about that number. It says Poland agrees to change Auschwitz tablets after 50 years of deflecting the request of Jewish groups. So guess what, family? This is saying by the request of Jewish groups, the Polish government has agreed to change the wording on stone tablets at Auschwitz and Birkenau, the adjacent Nazi camps, where more than 1 million Jews died during World War II. So wait a minute. It went from 4 million at Auschwitz to 1 million. So that's 3 million, just that alone, just at this site. If you go into the Jewish Almanac, you see the numbers are even lower. So 1 million versus 4 million, that is a significant drop. That is a 75% decrease. So if you take that same number and apply it across the board, and I'm not trying to belittle any deaths of any family. I want to make sure I'm not trying to sound like I'm insensitive, but we're just teaching on what we see here. That's why I just want to put that disclaimer out before someone tried to run with and say, hey, Pastor Kelly, teaching against the Jews. No, we're teaching facts here. We're going over history. I haven't said anything negative about any group of people, but we're dealing with history. But notice it went from 4 million to 1 million. Let me show you here. The move follows decades of appeals by Jewish groups who say the current plaques do not fully reflect the suffering of Jews. Their end focus too heavily on the camp's non-Jewish victims. While thousands of non-Jews were among the estimated 1.5 million killed at Auschwitz, the victims were predominantly Jewish. You see where you see the playing with words. So if you're saying an estimated 1.5 million, and then you say the most of them were Jews, this tell you the number is much lower than what they're telling you. That's what they're telling you. It's less than 1 million, right? Because and what many don't talk about is the our people that was killed, melanated people that was killed, right? You don't hear the conversations about that. All right. So notice here, these are I have the original plaque versus what's up there now. The original plaque, 4 million people suffered and died here at the hands of the Nazi murderers between the years 1940 and 1945. Then when we see this current plaque, it says, forever let this place be a cry of despair and a warning to humanity, where the Nazis murdered about 1.5 million men, women, and children, mainly Jews from various countries of Europe. This tells you the number is much less than 1 million, much far less. Big difference of going from 4 million to saying mainly most of that 1.5 million were from the Jewish community as we know them. See, family, this is why I want to go through this. We're dealing with the mark of the beast. So we covered a lot tonight. This is episode 1, dealing with the mark of the beast. And we may even pick this back up tomorrow night, depending on how I am feeling. We have our Shabbat service in the morning, and then I usually come back and rest until sun goes down. So depending on what we have to do, My wife and I, I may be back online tomorrow night. Yeah, the trolls are out heavy tonight. They've been really on my channel. Matter of fact, it was months ago when a group said that they were paid to come on this platform. I'll see if I could find that and I could post it, where a group of trolls said that they were paid to come on this platform, to come inside this chat to just try to disrupt this channel. So this is why you see them trolling. They were trolling when I did earlier. Some of you guys that was online earlier when I did a brief live. Guess what? They were on here. Ya's son, I believe, was on earlier and saw just how bad they were basically trolling the channel. Earlier, they was doing this flat earth craziness. And then now they're trying to do the Bitcoin, so they're targeting the channel. So family, I hope this helps you. I hope this give you a lot to go on. I hope and pray that this gives you a proper angle on how to really read the book of Revelation. When you understand the mark of the beast, don't reduce it down to being one item of validation, the entire system of validation. And when you see 666, we're not dealing with Damien. We're not dealing with Damien from the Omens. And, you hear that music in the background. Damien. No, we're not dealing with that, right? We're dealing with the system of man. And one of the systems of man is Judaism. Religion is a system of man. Judaism is a system of man. Christianity is a system of man. Catholicism is a Christian of man. Islam is a Christian of man, thanks to the Catholic Church. We're not dealing with systems of man. Actually, put it this way: we are dealing with systems of man, but we're not dealing with these individual things that many are highlighting or focusing on, like computer chips. It's validation, their system of validation. We could say the institution of race is part of this beast, this system of this beast. All right. All of this is part of that beast system. All right. So we're getting ready to wrap this up, family. I really appreciate you guys for the love and support. Thank you, everyone, for the contributions. Really appreciate you guys tonight for the blessings and sowing seeds into this ministry. And so I'm going to give the garbage can to those that are teaching lies, not teaching this proper truth, really pinpointing who's who, making sure that we're focusing on Israel when we're dealing with the prophecies, and not the church per se, the religion of Christianity and Catholicism, when we're dealing with these prophecies. All right. So I want to give a garbage can to anyone that's pushing that deception. Let's give it a 3-piece. Let's give it a couple of sides. And let's give them their order to go. So in the word of Moses, as Israel came out of Egypt and they came to what seemed to be a dead end. This is coming from Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Moses had to say to the children of Israel, under the instructions of the Most High, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, you will never have to deal with them again. They will not have power over you again. The system of man, we will not allow this to have power over us again. Christianity, no power over us again. Judaism will not have power over us again. Islam will not have power over us again. The healthcare system will not have power over us again. All these different mandates and vaccines will not have power over us again. The Most High will fight for us. But here's the kicker. We have to hold our peace. Karash. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.
Somebody better